You know, there was some cousins of the Wright brother.
Right.
They were quite unsuccessful in flight, but they made their first plane they made had 50 roosters attached to the upper wing. Unfortunately, there was a chicken farm nearby,
Right.
and all the roosters, they started going towards the chicken farm,
Right.
and they flew right into the chicken farm. He was the first one to use rooster flight as an powering engine.
He was also the only one. No one's ever tried that before.
No one ever tried because actually he was considered pretty stupid.
He was pretty
And
eccentric.
he wasn't very intelligent at all. He did
No.
inherit a large amount of money from his father, who was in a spring business. His son, what was his son now?
Bob Pendulum.
Bob Pendulum?
Yeah.
Then that's a coincidence.
I
In
think his
those
real name was
days,
Bob Pendulum.
you just made up your last name to be whatever it was you did.
like Peter Graves.
Peter
So
Graves.
his ancestors dug graves. And
Nice.
Cooper, Bob Cooper. His ancestors were Coopers. A Cooper's a guy that makes barrels.
Well, it's funny because the guy who flew that plane with the roosters,
Right.
his middle name was Barrel.
Oh, was it?
Yes.
Didn't he have two middle names?
Barrel Pendulum, but his first, what would you say his first name was?
Biplane. Wasn't it? No, wasn't that his second middle name? It was Bob Barrel Biplane Rooster
Pendulum.
Pendulum.
Now
Yeah,
you're
that
getting
was
them all mixed up. Keep it together.
No, but he wasn't the watchmaker.
No, he was.
No, that
the
was a
son.
different guy. He was the son.
He inherited a large fortune from his father, who
Right.
invented the watch spring.
Right, and the father was Pendulum.
And he was.
Barrel. The guy's name was Barrel.
His name was Barrel Biplane Pendulum, but he blew all his money on that.
Right.
He kept doing it too.
Right,
It's not,
he
he
was
didn't do it
eccentric.
just once.
No, he did it over and over.
He kept trying.
I mean, every time he got a few more feet.
And they flew. Yeah, and when he flew, all the roosters flew to the chicken.
Right, he lost it. He lost his inheritance.
Well, they smashed into the ball, and all
Right.
the chickens flew away, and he had to spend the next 3 years catching all those chickens. And they were easy to catch
Because they couldn't fly.
because they couldn't fly.
Right. Whereas the ones that Dimitri Cavalier, his chicken flew, and that was the problem.
Well, there was, of course, the guy who made chicken wings for his arms, Icarus.
Icarus.
He flew too close to the
He
sun.
flew close to the sun, and what happened?
Yeah, well, the wax melted,
And then?
and he plummeted down to the earth
And landed in the water.
Yeah, he didn't die.
Right.
Actually, he used chicken feathers, and that's when they realized why chickens can't fly. Their feathers, they don't work. No matter what feathers you put chicken feathers on, you still can't fly.
Yeah, if you replaced all the feathers on an eagle with chicken feathers, it would
Then it couldn't fly.
Right.
In fact, that was experimented by the great Greek inventor Pythagoras Barrel.
Wasn't his last name Theorem?
That's right, Barrel theorem.
But he's not the one who came up with Pythagoras theorem. That was a different Pythagoras.
Yeah, this was a different Pythagoras. This was Pythagoras' Barrel theorem. Barrel theorem for short. His friends called him Barrel. And he ran all sorts of experiments with chicken feathers and discovered that other birds can't fly with chicken feathers.
Right. He tried taking eagle feathers and putting them on a chicken.
He did. And, well, his neighbor Icarus saw this going on.
Right, and that's
And
why.
he thought, if you can put chicken feathers on an eagle and it can't fly, I'm sure I can put on me and I can fly. It was awfully arrogant, I thought, because if I can't fly with chicken feathers, why do you think you
What
can
was his
fly with
father's
chicken
name?
feathers?
Icarus? Didn't he have a father?
Well, yeah, he did have a father. His father was also obsessed with.
Obsessed with railroads.
Well, there was no trains then.
I know.
That's the
That's why he was obsessed with it. He thought there should be trains.
Yeah, he was a visionary. He thought he could send lunch to the troops with chickens.
Right.
And the chicken would fly.
What, like pigeons?
Yeah,
like
they-
they were carrier
Well, he put
chickens.
little sandwich packs on
Right,
them.
right, on their backs.
Yeah, and
they
then-
were like carrier chicken.
But
But
he lost a lot of money because...
didn't the chickens eat the sandwiches?
No, the soldiers ate the chickens.
Oh, right,
So he never
right.
got his chickens
Right,
back.
right,
and
right.
he ate the sandwich.
Right, I mean, you're a soldier, you see a chicken, you go,
You're not gonna just-
lunch.
You're not going to just eat the
No,
sandwich.
no.
You eat the chicken
Eat
as
the
well.
chicken.
So Icarus's father invented the passenger chicken. Then someone got the idea of...
No,
using
carrier
a pigeon.
carrier chicken.
Yeah, and that's when chickens could still fly.
And that's one of the reasons all the ones that could fly were killed off. That's how evolution works. You have some mutated gene lessens your ability to fly. If you couldn't fly, those chickens were not the ones that were chosen for these carrier chickens. An organism is the slave of the gene.
We're the genes,
We're the
and the
genes.
chickens, we are relying on them so we
Yeah.
can survive.
We're the genes and they're the
And
organisms.
they're the organisms.
They're the organisms.
Well, now that we figured that out...
I think it's time to go to lunch.
Masterpiece Theater presents The Jack and Mark Show. In this episode, Jack and Mark each commiserate from their respective jail cells via the wonders of WhatsApp, each serving several months for impersonating professors at the University of Toronto and teaching classes to unwary students. Why? Because, as they stated in their defense to the judge, it seemed like a good idea at the time. So I think we were pretty lucky to get those jobs as professors. The interviewer was quite impressed by my PhD in the laundering of money. In the Middle Ages, they didn't have any way of transferring money. And there was this fellow, Mango Kleinhardt. He trained rats, and by strapping tiny saddlebags with a harness around their torso, he would have the rats deliver the money to the other end. This was some of the first documented transferring of funds in ancient times.
But he had a lot of engineering problems. There was a period where some of the rats, their left legs were shorter than the right legs, so they went around in circles.
Oh yeah, Mango called that the great circling dilemma. Not to mention that people started getting suspicious that he was responsible for the plague.
Didn't they have a buddy that kind of helped him, a silent partner?
It was his idea to use chickens.
Well, because you could eat them.
Well, the receiver could eat the chicken, but there would be a sub fee.
Chickens can't fly that well, right? So they'd have to, a lot of the trip was spent walking.
Dilly Dally is one of the greatest costume designers out of the Ukraine.
That was Salvador Dali's brother, wasn't it?
It was Salvador. But Dilly Dally wasn't very known. He died very unhappy with a lot of costumes.
Well, his brother ripped him off.
He went out as a mailbox. He was then hauled into a repair truck. No one saw him. He was lost in a warehouse.
I heard he went postal.
Well, everyone was going postal.
Yeah, that's
it's
right.
Ukraine.
Yeah.
No one could tell who was angry.
No, I know.
Everyone was angry and shooting.
And it's not the Ukraine. They get pissed off when you say the Ukraine. It's Ukraine. You don't say, hey, have you been to the Ukraine? You say, I've been to Ukraine.
Oh, did you go there once on vacation?
No, you're missing the point.
You get in trouble.
Well, I've gotten into trouble, but not for going to the Ukraine.
Oh, you went to Ukraine.
I didn't even go to Ukraine.
You didn't?
I'm just saying.
Why are we talking about this then?
Okay, what were you going to help me with?
When you're in the baby diaper business, people are just glad you picked up the
I
shit.
know, because no one wants their shit
Hanging
hanging around.
I would say, look, you want me to take the shit?
No.
I'm going to take the shit. First baby diaper business was back in 1820. There was this guy, his name was Sir Henry.
Sir Henry?
No, he was just Sir Henry. He called himself Sir Henry,
Right.
and people took him to task on it. He said, listen, my first name's Sir, and my last name's Henry. Yeah, he became obsessed with the proper disposal of excrement. Because he got his ship sank, and he was stranded on his Polynesian island. He thought he was in paradise.
Right.
And here the babies would just, mothers would wipe their bum with a leaf.
Right.
And they didn't have to worry about
No,
it.
they just threw it into the ocean.
Yeah, they just threw it in the ocean. And then when he went back to his town in the Ukraine, I think somewhere, he wanted to make sure that his town free of baby shit. Because there was a lot of babies going on, and they used to just take the diapers and throw them in the dump. And there was a big pile, a mountain, of festering, steaming baby shit. They had a huge drum that was made out of an old Ferris wheel or something he bought. And he attached it to a water mill so that it was constantly turning. And then he would throw the diapers into
Didn't he get a giant magnifying glass to heat up the water? Like Archimedes?
Yeah, he did get this big sheet of glass that he had removed from the city hall.
Right.
People weren't too pleased. Yeah, and everything was going well until it all burst into flames.
Oh, that's basically what started the war between Ukraine and Russia.
Yeah, it's little known that he was the cause of that conflict. And actually, that's when he called himself Sir Henry, because he was feeling despondent and he had low self-esteem. And but that's just a short history of one of the first baby shit cleaners. And then there was the guy who used to just collect the baby shit.
Oh yeah, I mean, wouldn't he roll it like a dung beetle?
Because this was back in medieval times.
Right.
So he didn't have a vehicle like a truck. And he didn't have plastic bags.
Right.
So yeah, he would start with one, and then he'd wrap the next one. He was called the Dung Man. And he was huge. This guy was enormous. He was
Right.
one of the biggest people in town.
I heard he was like 600 pounds.
He could. And he could push a dung baby shit ball hundreds of meters. Unfortunately, he would just push them to his house, and then no one could disassemble it. And he got all these people. He said 3 jobs because everyone was unemployed.
They didn't stimulate the economy with government spending, right?
No.
So no one had a job.
When the crops were picked and stuff, and people, they thought, what do we do now?
Yeah.
And then he said, I've got a great idea.
Right.
I'll collect the baby shit diapers.
He was the first Keynesian economist. He was
And as funny as his first name was Bung.
Bung Dung.
Yeah, so he was Bung Dung Enterprises, and he would push this huge ball. His house, his location was up on a hill.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's careful because the thing starts rolling down.
Well,
the
that's
good
what-
thing it's got a high coefficient of friction and shitballs, right?
well, yeah,
It's
true,
easy for them to
true.
stop.
But first, he went up there and he had a few dung balls up there, and he said 3 jobs, and people went up. It was very difficult to disassemble once they were all compact.
I'm not even clear on the concept of disassembling a ball of shit.
Well,
Because it's basically a paste, right? It's not like different
they're
parts
all
fit
with
into each other.
burlap baby diapers, right? In the medieval times, they used burlap.
Oh, right,
And so
right,
it's-
of
they
course.
just take it and they pack it all in. However, he did become a hero inadvertently.
Yeah.
Because the town was getting invaded
Right.
by renegade. They just came in because it's medieval times.
Yeah.
And they were coming up the street, and so he pushed the dung balls down the road, and they actually. There was like 50 guys in armor and spears, and it just packed them all in, and then continued rolling on, and then everyone was really happy, but then it rolled into the church
Right.
and wrecked the steeple.
Didn't he have a middle name?
Urine?
Urine. Dung, urine, bung. No, sorry, bung, urine, dung.
Dung, urine, and bung.
BYD. People don't usually say the urine part because it doesn't really
Because in
fit.
those days it didn't mean piss.
No.
In those days it meant flowery aroma. It's an old word.
It's an
but
old
it-
Norse word.
Now it looks like urine. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not really.
It's not, it's a different word.
It didn't have an e on it, so it was, and it started with a
Y.
Yeah, it was Y-O-U-R-U-R-U-N. So it was
Y-O-U-Run.
Urine.
U-Run.
Middle name was U-Run because
Right.
his father would say, "Son, go get me a beer. You run," and he would run.
Right.
And his father wasn't a very nice man, and he was a raging alcoholic. And
Right.
as soon as he saw his son, he would just say, "You run," and he knew that meant he had to run to the bar
Right.
and get some more booze. So every time he spoke to his son, he said, "You run." So Dung, You Run, Bung. It developed the Bung Dungs.
Right.
And
The bung dungs.
the
Yeah.
Bung Dungs, and his middle name was You Run.
Right.
But then people started saying
It's
You
just too
Run.
much.
But it's
Urine, yeah.
But that was just to poke at
fun
him,
at him,
you know,
yeah.
because he was always dealing in shit. And so they figured his middle name would be Piss. But his middle name had nothing to do with Piss. It had to do with him going to have to get a beer for his raging alcoholic father.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's the same old story, right?
History gets rewritten by the winners. I don't know if the winner was there, but well, I'm pretty exhausted.
You want to go get lunch?
We're gonna go get some
All
food,
right.
and then we'll pick this up tomorrow.
Okay.
We have concluded our broadcast schedule for today. Good night.
Whatever happened to Dilly Dally?
I think he immigrated to New Guinea.
No, you immigrate to, you emigrate from.
Oh, he immigrated.
Yeah, it's like infer and imply. The listener infers, the speaker implies.
Dilly Dally implied that he was going to go to New Guinea.
And what did Salvador infer from that?
Salvador inferred that he was pulling his leg. In a
euphemism, not a euphemism.
euphemistic
What do you call
way.
it? That's
No, in a
a metaphorical way. Yes, yeah, not a metamorphosis way.
No.
That's when you change from one thing to another, like Kafka.
Did you see our new Kafka costume?
Oh, you got the Kafka costume.
We got the Kafka
Oh,
costume. It's just a big, huge cockroach.